So that's an action story right there.
There's protectors up there, spiritual protectors.
My Crow friends will like this one.
Navajo Nation is so large that it's like the U.S.
The Resburger might eat you. It's massive.
My wife is white.
How's it been for you coming into this? None of these homes have addresses. Are you married or no?
I'm single.
How do you feel about Indian casinos?
Reach out and touch the low.
Does everyone get a monthly stipend, or how does that work? Radioactive signs?
Now Shiprock has an influx of homeless Chinese immigrants.
So no birth certificate. Why is that?
Breaking Bad was probably the best production I worked on. If you sit here for 10 minutes and hear nothing, you're at home. You're at peace.
Good morning, guys. If there's anything I've learned over the last few weeks shooting about natives is that they don't so much like to be called natives, Native American, Indian, First Nation, and are much more interested in being called Lakota, Crow, Zuni, their tribe, which they consider their nation. So today we have the great privilege to meet up with a local 2 hours south of here in Shiprock, New Mexico, who grew up on the Navajo Nation, home of the Dene people, but moved out to Albuquerque, understands both worlds through and through. Told me sometimes feels part of both, sometimes feels part of neither. Wealth of knowledge and information. He's gonna give us a really good insight to what it's like being native, both on the reservation and off the reservation. All right, guys, another adventure. I'm excited for this one. Let's do it. All right, guys, this is where the coordinates have left me. We're almost off-roading at this point. Maybe it's that structure out there. Who knows, but it looks like we're gonna get the inside tour of the Navajo Nation because I don't think anyone's coming out here to these parts. So here we are, an hour and a half later. The coordinates were off on Google, and Nick, the guy we're meeting here, we just met him and his wife in the parking lot at the grocery store, said on the reservation there are no real directions, as in addresses, as in Google can't pinpoint where somebody lives. We'll have to get more on that, but that's the reason I was off-roading in the middle of nowhere. New house, Nick.
Yeah. How's it going?
It's good. This is a bit different than where I was off-roading.
Yeah. Inside's more finished than the outside. And my mom has hosted a couple Thanksgiving things.
Okay, what'd your mom just have you do? Go to the supermarket to get Starbucks?
Oh,
right?
yeah.
First one on the res?
I believe it is first one on the res. Shiprock is a border town, and if you know the families there, they will all pile up into a truck, a car, a van, whatever, and they would go to town. Literally drive to town to get groceries.
Sure. Border
coffee.
town meaning it's on the reservation or off the reservation?
It's on the reservation, but at the very edge of the reservation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is your little guy.
Yeah, that's our little one.
Okay.
Little Benjamin. It's my
How
dad.
you doing, sir?
George, how you doing?
George Peter. Nice to meet you. Father?
Yes.
Yeah, that's my
Okay.
dad.
And I'm the mom.
The mom, okay.
Yeah.
Here you go, Mom.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So, son is building this for you?
Yeah, he designed the house.
Okay.
Yeah, there's just two of us in here. What were we thinking? But
You thinking you want to live large. It looks nice. Is this your construction crew right here? Yep, over there.
You don't want to look at the store again?
No, I just saw. Oh wow.
Yeah.
So Nick, I didn't mention outside you're a designer and a builder.
Yes, correct.
And this is your art.
Yes, this is one of those projects that I try to talk my parents out of doing.
You tried to talk him out of doing.
Yeah. So this area is pretty much our whole family. Right here was my grandma's late sister's house.
Okay.
But now her son lives in there, who's my uncle.
Here's a question I've asked on every reservation I've been on.
Yeah.
Someone from the outside, that being me, if I'm going to refer to, say, all tribes,
Right.
I'm going to say native culture or natives.
Right.
Is that the way I should say it? Should I be saying Native American? Should I be saying Indian? Should I say First Nations? What's the right way to say it?
It's the same thing as you would ask anybody who is American. It's an American choice of what do you want to be called. I think that's the way I see it.
So there's no uniform way to say it.
No, there's not. I mean,
Okay,
it's
yeah, 'cause-
caramel.
The reason I bring this up is
Yeah.
because quite often I said Native American, someone said, don't say that. Then I said Indian, like, don't say that, that's offensive. These aren't natives saying this is from the outside saying this,
Okay,
right? So people from the outside trying to say how you guys should be called, what I've learned is people want to be called Navajo or Dene or Lakota or Crow. They want to identify with their tribe, not as in like
Yeah.
a monolith, right?
Well, I mean, I don't know if you want part of this in your video, but I identify that as like a liberal discrimination. You know, it's that part of like, you guys need to be recognized, but let us recognize it for you and let us help you do all this for you. But with us, we're like, we survived this long. We dealt with so many atrocities. We're still here. We still have the strength to get through it. Just kind of
so the
let
best
us figure it out. You know what I mean?
the best thing would be to say, call you Navajo or Dene, right?
Or Dene.
Dene, sorry,
Dene.
Dene, my pronunciation's
It's
bad.
like, yeah, it's a Dene. It's like the people. You could call me Navajo. You call me Dene. You call me
Okay.
Nick. You call me Karen. If you are addressing me in a respectful way,
Yeah.
I am not going to have a problem with it.
So
But-
if someone said to you, Indian, Native American, First Nations, as long
Yeah.
as they're respectful, then you're cool with
yeah,
it?
because it really depends on age. You meet a 70-year-old. Oh yeah, this Indian kid he's a good hard worker. I'm not going to say anything because that's the era he grew up in.
So yeah, the
Yeah.
elders like to say Indian.
Yeah. Well, most commonly, yes.
And I understand these are kindergarten questions, but that's where most people are at,
No,
like
it's-
myself. So
Yeah, they're not.
we gotta learn from the source.
I think it's just more of the stupidest questions are the ones that aren't asked. And it's
Okay.
good that you're asking these.
Out here with Navajos, I've seen a lot of military signs, stuff like this. So a lot of you guys joined the military?
Yes. So back in 1924, Navajos became official U.S. citizens, and it wasn't shortly after that a lot of them signed up to be in the military to protect their homeland.
Okay.
And it was shortly after that World War II started, and the Japanese were breaking all of our codes. And they realized, hey, we got these Marines over here, they're talking a language we don't understand. Approached them, found out they were speaking Navajo. Wheels started turning, they're like, hey, we're gonna use the Navajo language. And now these guys are now Navajo code talkers, and we're sending them behind enemy lines to communicate with other military groups and coordinate strikes against Japan.
So the Japanese had no one that understood Navajo?
No,
They could
no
figure
one.
out English, but not Navajo?
Yep, and
That's
Navajo,
so
I
cool.
think the last time I checked, was the third hardest language in the world.
Is there a division within Navajo culture? There's some that are like really into the military, and I see you have flags up here, and others that are against all of that, or?
No, I don't think so.
They're all in support because
We're protecting our land.
yeah.
That's it.
So they
That's
have a lot of respect.
So this is Grandma.
my son. Come on.
She's okay with the camera?
Yeah. Yeah, I would give
Okay.
everybody a heads up.
Sorry guys outside. The house is not for sale.
Your grandmother aged so well. That's amazing.
Hey, Grandma. How are you?
You miss your grandson.
You grew up here in Shiprock?
Yes,
Okay.
I was raised in Shiprock, sheep herder.
You were a sheep herder.
With my late grandparents, they had a flock of sheep, and we lived out in the winter sometime. Then we come back over here.
Wow.
But one day, what you call it, line? Or what was it?
Mountain lion.
Mountain lion. We got on the horse and the donkey.
Uh-huh.
I sit in the bed. We really hear a donkey ran with us. He stand up with us. Both of us, we fell off. Because I guess the donkey got scared of that mountain lion. We both fell off. So we start running on foot. And good thing, the white people, I guess they always go hunting for looking for the woods. Here they were coming, they really honking their car. Dude! Then they had a rubber, they just shoot out there and it out over.
Yeah.
That's when that I guess he was going to follow us. So then they give us a rod back, and they were taking care of the flood the street for us. They said, "Don't come down this way. There's a mountain down here." So there's an action story right there.
Daily life on the res.
My father working at the Mesa Verde, way out there, right there,
yeah.
Mesa Verde. He put us in boarding school, enrolled us.
In boarding school, where?
Shipwreck right there.
It was like English boarding school?
Yeah, they had a boarding school for boys and girls.
He wanted you to go to school.
Yes.
How did you feel going to school instead of sheep herding?
Well, my mom said she understands English. Then she can read us a book.
Your mom said that?
Yes. And
You grew up speaking Navajo though, right?
Yes, and English. And you know what? I always sing church song.
Always sing church songs?
Yeah, she's a church singer.
You're a very religious person?
Ever since. Reach out and touch the Lord as He goes by. He passing by this moment to hear your heart's reply. Now say that. Reach out and touch the Lord as He go by.
Beautiful. Oh, so no birth certificate.
Yeah, no
why
birth
why is that?
Back then, they were born in hospitals. They were born in hogans. But my mom was born in the old Shiprock Hospital. Their records were destroyed. They were burnt in Texas.
Oh, they just like in a fire in a hospital.
So my mom has no records, so she cannot fly an airplane.
There's nothing you can do?
No.
We tried. I tried. We contacted Santa Fe. We've contacted
Alice
people
Hayes.
that knew her.
So you can't get a driver's license and ID?
She did. She did
Oh,
get
yeah.
a driver's license. But when that real New Mexico ID came up, and you needed a bunch of proof that you were actually a citizen, and yet she's an indigenous citizen.
How do we get Granny a birth
We want to fly
certificate?
her to Texas to see my son as an army foot hood. We want to take her to Hawaii.
Wow, so she wants to see her son
Yeah,
that's in
her
the army,
grandson.
her grandson, sorry.
His picture's up there. He's serving our country.
He's a seaburn specialist.
Okay, so those who have the power that are watching this video, how do we get Granny legal documentation to fly, right? To see her grandson who's fighting for us in our military? Yeah. That is the craziest thing I've ever heard.
It is. Have some land.
My Crow friends will like this one. We're on the Navajo Nation, and what were you saying about the Crow men? What are they known for?
They're very good looking, very tall, and very intelligent.
We have some big Crow fans down here in New Mexico, so maybe write a comment if you know. Are you married or no?
I'm single.
Oh,
Ready to mingle. Show me some tingle. I'm just kidding. I like to rhyme.
on time
I used to be a kindergarten teacher.
until you became a Crow preacher.
And I'm just a reacher.
I'll see you up in Montana next year.
That's how God will encouraging us to read the Bible, Ephesians, and then Hebrew.
Okay, thank you.
That's encouraging, okay?
Read the Bible.
Read the Bible.
Thank you. That was fun.
A cat did.
Great singing.
Yes, thank you.
So Nick, help me understand this. With religion, with the Navajos, from what I've gathered, it's almost like half and half. Some people are very religious.
Yeah.
Others are further back, spiritual,
They're more traditional.
traditional.
Yeah.
But is there like a very strong line between the two?
No, there's also a blend of tradition and religion as well too.
Okay.
That you can pray to Jesus, go to the revivals on the res.
Is there ever an issue with religion here because it was brought in obviously by the colonizer?
I spent more time in a church than I did traditional, and we didn't have any bad experiences there. My grandma was talking about how her boarding school experience was positive. If you were to talk to someone else who went to boarding school, it'd probably be negative, you know, because the whole theme of kill the savage, save the man, which means get rid of your identity by cutting your hair.
Sure.
No more talking your native language, is only English and all that. But others, not all schools are like that either, too. You know,
I loved, like,
she
wasn't she like a cheerleader and she played volleyball?
Yeah.
And she was
Your granny there,
Yeah.
she was a cheerleader.
yeah.
I bet she was great.
Played volleyball, and then she was a track star.
Yeah.
Doing hurdling.
Yeah.
So it depends who you're talking to.
Yes, correct. I mean, again, you know, the Navajo Reservation is like the U.S. You're going to find pockets everywhere of different beliefs, different ways of looking at life, different point of views on politics. Just because we're Native, it doesn't mean everybody is a Democrat. You know, it's exact same way on the reservation like it is America. This area here is the Koya. I'm probably butchering the term in Navajo, but it's a creek. This is where I used to go to play with my cousins. Oh yeah, with cousins, everybody is your cousin. There's no first, second, or third cousin. But also, I'm the only child, so you'll hear me a lot say brother and sister.
Okay.
Brother and sister is all my cousins.
So it feels like one big family in a way?
Yep, exactly. And that's what, you know, my wife is white, and she had a kind of a hard time understanding that till she spent
me like 6 months to figure out that you were only child.
So how's it been for you coming into this?
I first met Nick because we were working at this Navajo-owned firm. Like, it was just diving headfirst into the culture because I didn't grow up here.
Sure.
You know, like I moved here from Northern California.
Wow.
So I had zero knowledge of anything.
Do you feel like you've been accepted into the community, let's say?
Well, by his family, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. My firstborn son is not with Nick, but they treat him as their own.
Sure.
That's their tall Millie boy.
What about when you're like on your own, you go into town here, shopping or whatever, people very accepting or?
I've never gone on my own because I won't get lost.
Okay. It's like my wife.
No, I think it's one of those things where for the most part I have felt super warmly accepted by immediate family and even some of the less immediate family. And then there's definitely been moments when I have not felt very welcome.
Okay.
So I think it's like you go anywhere and it's like some people are very friendly and other people are
Sure.
not. Some people kind of give me the stink eye and
Yeah.
other people don't and they don't care.
Yeah,
Cool.
I mean, even with our oldest, he's as white as can be, you know, and he's very, very tall for his age, so he stands out among his Native brothers and sisters and cousins and all that. And he'll be out there while the family's cooking fry bread, and he's running around with them, getting dusty and finding whatever to play with, just like a little res kid would.
Grandpa used to plug it up.
Yep.
My grandpa,
I was just gonna.
during the winter, there was water throughout the year.
So this is a little natural spring coming out that was formed into a concrete by my great-grandfather. This was our water source that we used to fill with water buckets before we had running water at my grandma's house. So they would fill this up, and also the house that you saw here,
Okay.
that wasn't there.
When
But
was that? How many years ago?
a long?
70s.
Yeah.
80s.
I would say
So the
early-
70s and early 80s, you're doing bucket water out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So things have come a long way here.
So people are still coming by. They know about this. They call it Dodge Spring because my grandpa's last name was Dodge.
Okay. Good water.
I think so. Yeah.
Tastes like a lot of minerals, but good.
Yeah. When I was young, we'd play out in the hot sun and all that with my dogs and my cousins. And when it gets hot, pull that little wood plug out. Just put your mouth on it, suck it down, plug it back up, and make that streak of sand across your face and go play again.
You were saying, Nick, that none of these homes have addresses.
No, they don't. They don't have addresses. It was known as lanes,
Okay.
only by the locals. It wasn't until recently, if we drive by one, you'll see that there's actually just a plywood that's painted with the lane number on there. A good citizen did that.
So what about UPS, FedEx?
No, that's impossible.
You can't get packages out here?
Yep. They need a physical address.
Why not put addresses to relieve that problem, or it's just not in the mindset?
It's not in the agenda. That's just kind of how it goes out here. This is Farm Lanes, one of the more popular older roads in Shiprock. And out over these trees over here is where they had those hemp farms going on that was causing problems in the community as well too.
Hemp farms, why were they causing problems?
It was illegal.
Okay.
And they were hiring undocumented immigrants from China and other countries, and they were paying people a quarter of what's been required per, I would say, OSHA, or even like decent wages.
Okay.
They set that up, bypassed everything to just get operations up and going with foreign investors during the pandemic.
Okay.
And since everything was locked down, hardly anybody was coming out, so less resistance until finally things started opening up. It caught enough attention that one morning or one afternoon, about 90 law enforcement vehicles showed up and shut down the entire operation. Now Shiprock has an influx of homeless Chinese immigrants.
Really?
Yep, it's baffling. It's baffling that you
insane.
that one of our multiple members of our own tribe are willing to do that to our own community for their own profits. That's the part that always irks me about government in general. It's not a Navajo Nation problem, it's just a government problem.
Right. People lining their pockets.
Yep, exactly. Self-interest.
So do you have a big problem with that on Navajo Nation?
As far as I know, not anymore, because like I said, it
No, but I mean corruption in government, let's
yes,
say.
yeah. I mean,
It's just like any government?
It's human nature.
Right.
It's human nature to get power and get greedy and get selfish once you gain power.
Sure.
And we don't know that, because does anybody want to gain that much power and get into that? And then you can see here on the lights here that there's no street signs or
Oh, yeah.
identification.
Right, no street signs. And that's why I was way out in the desert off-roading.
That's why you're far south, not north. We're on the north side of Navajo Shiprock. I mean, we have the hospital to the left.
So 2 questions I get a lot from my audience. Healthcare and housing. Is healthcare, if you're native, is it free healthcare? Do you have to pay something? Or
No,
if you need a surgery, you're covered? Or?
You are covered if the facility can perform it.
Okay. And then what about housing? Does everyone get a free house? Does it depend who you are? How does that work?
Well, it's definitely improved, because these apartment complexes here are brand new.
Okay.
Haven't been here 20 years ago. Apartment complexes were few and far between. The closest they got were probably duplexes or very small single homes, and that was provided by, the government. They're also putting more money into housing provided by that you can get accepted to through application process.
Okay.
And it's free. If not, there's a very low monthly payment. Just like leasing land, if you're a tribal member, it's a very low.
Okay.
It's not, land's not free, and that's a misinterpretation as well too. It's leased. Like the land we're on, we are still leasing.
So all these homes people have, they're leasing that land, or they own that land?
It comes down to what era you got it.
When you got it, okay.
Yes, yeah.
And when you say you're leasing, is that leasing from the federal government?
Yes, correct, from their own Navajo Nation federal government.
Interesting. And then the last question I get all the time is, does everyone get a monthly stipend, or how does that work?
No. You get monthly payments if you are an elderly, if you need assistance, like let's say through ADA guidelines, in a wheelchair, unable to work, and stuff like that.
Okay.
Mentally disabled. But we, unless it changed recently, last time I checked, is we don't get casino money.
Okay.
That's more of a small tribe deal.
So we're going to a flea market. Is that correct? Flea market?
Yeah, this is the flea market, the main hub in Shiprock's intersection.
I think it was up in Crow. I was told every reservation is different.
Yeah.
They're either total anarchy or authoritarian.
Yeah. Well,
What would Navajo Nation be like? Or there's a spectrum, obviously.
there's definitely a spectrum, but I feel like it's pretty authoritarian in the more bigger towns like Shiprock, Winter Rock, St. Michael's, Cayenta, Tuba City. But
Like
then-
strong government control?
Yes. Well, I wouldn't say strong government control, just more of a stabilized infrastructure. But then
Okay.
you go into more deep res that you have elders living in shacks and cardboards, and then you have no running water, electricity,
Okay.
paved roads going there, and then they live off of their checks, but also they're bullied by maybe like a spoiled, selfish grandson who's taking their monthly checks, or saying,
okay.
"I'll drive you over there, but I'm gonna take 75% of it."
And there's no oversight, right? Nobody's
No.
seeing that happen.
Navajo Nation is so large that it's like the U.S. You have sectors of the U.S. that's just like those crazy hillbillies, you know.
Right. Guys, I think it's really hard to really capture this on the camera, but the geography out here, I mean, that Shiprock, I was on the other side of that, which was an hour and a half away. And this is just one part of Navajo Nation, which is absolutely massive. So you have these towns, but the rural areas are very, very rural. You're from Montezuma Creek in Utah. What are you doing down here?
Well, I live in Farmington.
Okay, is this your daughter?
That's my daughter, my boyfriend.
So I've known this guy since like 3 years old. I think we're still in diapers.
Yeah.
Parents
You're
played-
not still in diapers, are you?
No.
It depends which night. We grew up as artists, but he's the
Okay.
one that continued on working a lot in art and selling it.
This is your line of clothes?
Yes. I worked with this guy, Benjamin Leadham. So we started the clothing line, Crazy Dogs.
Crazy Dogs. And you sell these all over?
Yeah, wherever I travel, wherever I pop up.
You guys have any Navajo tacos?
Nope. You guys are getting burgers.
All right, we're getting burgers in. We're getting Navajo burgers, just as good.
What's different about a res burger?
It's better than a Navajo burger.
What's it got? Extra cheese or something?
It's up fully loaded with cheese, green chili,
Oh yeah.
on tortilla fried bread with 2 fresh smashed patties.
This is your famous smash burger, right?
Here you go, Mama.
You can open it up.
All right, actually, my wife will present it.
The res burger might eat you. It's massive.
We got beef. We got green chili. We got lettuce, tomato, onions. Yes, and cheese.
Heavy, huh?
Yeah, it is. Got some girth to it.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's 2 pounds at least.
At least.
The fried bread, it's good.
Have you had a fried bread before?
A little bit the other day, yeah.
Gotcha.
So you have a nice green chili in here. Is that what makes the res burger a res burger?
Green chili is it's a new touch, New Mexican touch.
Where are you at with your res burger right now?
The end.
The end.
I can't do this. I think I ate
It's-
about half of it.
Yeah. Does anybody clear a full res burger
I used to.
back in the day?
A few years ago, a little girl and her brother were kidnapped along this wall here. The little brother escaped and she was beaten, raped, and murdered. And the system that failed during that time that could have possibly stopped it was the Amber system. Navajo Nation, I believe they purchased it, but never kept it with it or even learned to share the data with anybody else. So that alert system never went up. Since then, that was a big, like, what happened here? We could have stopped this. We could have had authorities instantly. When her and the little brother were kidnapped hours before, but there was no alert system up for it. And this case was kind of the turning point of the Navajo Nation opening their eyes of we're failing our community by not keeping our alert system like this up to standard.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the story with missing women here? I see it in some of the gas stations,
Yeah. So
fires.
missing women is very common, doesn't get the attention that it desperately needs. It's almost unaccounted for in agencies off the reservation as well, nor is it ever followed up as well too. And that's the big issue with that. And Mama, you can add on to it if you want.
It's underreported. People will let the authorities know that they've got a loved one who's missing, and they either don't do anything with it, or there's so much confusion over who has jurisdiction, you know.
Oh, right, because the sheriff can operate differently out here than the Navajo police. And
Yeah, it's like, well, who's actually going to do it? And it's the same thing going back to the Amber Alert system. It's like, well, whose job is it to start the search? And one agency will be waiting for the other agency to do something. And
Okay.
so there's a lot of time wasted.
okay.
But with the missing Indigenous women, it's like there's a huge number of it, and there's a particularly high number when there's workers who are non-native
Okay.
that work nearby.
They're off the reservation, coming to the reservation, taking the girls.
Yeah, like they'll maybe they're like meeting up someplace at like a bar. They're hanging out. They're
Okay.
and then they're going missing.
Does it ever happen native on native?
Yeah, and that's the case here with
Okay.
little girl who passed
The
was
little girl, yeah, he was developmentally disabled.
What's the root of this problem? Like, why is this happening at such high volume, do you think?
if it's native on native, it mostly comes down to transgenerational trauma. I know that word's overused, but you have families that are still dealing with alcoholism, domestic violence, sexual violence that's never resolved properly through a psychiatrist because there's none available. And recently there are available now, but not as they were then. So that type of behavior just went ongoing, and for you to bring it up like, hey, your uncle touched you, your aunt touched you. Shiprock is far more developed than a lot of other reservations, but that doesn't mean that people are still carrying around traumas that happened before anything on the reservation was developed. Just like the way my grandma was talking, Shiprock used to be very scarce and flat, but that also included very, very small number of law enforcement. I think even up to now, one officer can cover up to 600 square miles of the reservation.
Do you think, Danae, people want more law enforcement in general or less?
The ones who I spoke to, most of them are family, they do want more law enforcement. My aunt, who does a lot of work with health services, she goes out to very remote areas visiting elders, and they have no protection out there. There's no infrastructure. There's roads like we're driving on right now to get to their places, except it's less travel because they don't live next to a national monument,
Yeah.
There needs to be increase in funding for law enforcement. I know the Navajo Nation has been doing good with that as best they could with the money they have, because we're finally seeing in the past 10 years justice centers going up on a reservation like in Crown Point. Before then, you would have facilities off the reservation where if someone got arrested on a reservation, the officer would have to drive them hour and a half, 2 hours to drop them off at a jail.
Absolutely massive. Wow. So is there a big spiritual significance to this place?
There's a bird that came in and flew Dene onto this land and pretty much embedded, layman's terms, bedded into the ground, but other stories will point out that there's two birds that were terrorizing the people here with their own nest up above. And we had the Hero twins, and I think it was Spider Woman. Spent days to plan of attack, and once those two birds came down, they killed them, and Hero twins became monster slayers. And they had the little offsprings up on top who were pretty much begging not to be killed. So they let them go in return to use their feathers and beaks and all parts of their bodies for future use for our people. And that's where hawks, eagles, owls all come from as well. And then the blood by the story is on the other side of this mountain. So if you were to go around, you would see dark properties of the land that looks dark, and they call that's the blood there.
How do you feel when you come up here?
If you sit here for 10 minutes and hear nothing, you're at home. You're at peace. You don't see tall buildings. You don't see roads everywhere. You don't see power lines going around this area. You don't see airports. It's one of those times that you look at and you appreciate how much beauty comes off of our land, and especially the peak here as well.
All right, guys, let's try that for a few seconds. going quiet here. How do you feel about Indian casinos? Because it's sort of the antithesis of spirituality, you might say, but it obviously brings in revenue. So
Well-
what are the thoughts on that?
The way I look at it is like a vehicle.
Okay.
But our people ride horses and wagons. Like, why you want to bring a vehicle in? They bring pollution and smoke. Yes, but we also got to stay with technology. And I feel like casinos are the same thing. Of not all businesses can live off of brick and mortar businesses like restaurants, gas stations. I think it's fair to build a casino as long as it benefits to the tribe and the community.
Does it work that way here?
I haven't seen a single dime, so I mean,
It's in the mail without your address.
post dated 2026.
Whoops. There we go.
Wow.
So, some on that note, so some stories are saying there's protectors up there, spiritual protectors, and if you were to go up there to climb the rock or do anything to our sacred grounds, rocks would be flying down at you.
So watch yourself.
Well, no, they do the rock hold. I mean, it's just like I was hoping my grandma would talk about the whole
Oh yeah.
riding on the wagon through the mesas towards mountains when she was little.
Yeah.
They were on horseback and wagons, and she remembers that there was boulders being thrown at them off of the mesa, and they said there was like little caveman-looking guys like throwing rocks at him.
The little men.
Yeah, there's dark magic out there. There's plenty of stories that run into Navajo. So the highway here that goes from Shiprock to Gallup used to be Route 666, Highway 666. And it wasn't until I think the 90s they changed it to Highway 491. But you know, just talk to anybody along the way of like, hey, when you travel at night, have you seen anything?
I drove down it the other night. Well, I saw a rocket, but that was Elon Musk. But you could imagine some weird stuff happening out there for sure.
I've heard everything. Something running beside your vehicle as you're driving, even though you're on a highway. Dark images, hopping on top of your truck, sitting in the back of your hood, you know, stuff like that.
You call yourself a modern native?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It's just we live in a modern world, so we adapt. It's
like if you weren't a modern native, you wouldn't marry a white woman. Is this correct?
Yeah, it would more than likely be with a Navajo. Her and I would get married through a medicine man in a traditional wedding.
So what percentage do you think here, I mean, you wouldn't know for sure exactly, but guys like you, modern natives versus old school traditional, you're more common or less common?
Modern natives are very common, except they will hold on to certain traditional values. One big traditional value to hold on to is clans. You know, there's a clan system of making sure that you don't date anybody who's in the same clan, which means it doesn't mean it's incest, but to the elders and to our history, it's looked at almost as incest and insult to where you're from.
Well, that makes sense, right? If you're in small towns with few people coming and going,
Yep. Yeah.
you have to be careful with who you marry, right?
Like my clans is Tut Chitni, Nishet Topa Habashin, Totis Chitni, Dashache, Ki Ani Dashanella. I have a Water Edge clan, Tower House clan, Red Run Into Water clan, and Bitterwater clan.
So a clan, for those that don't know, it's sort of like an extended family, but it's not
It's
biological, or?
It's not biological. It's more of like I guess trying to keep it in a broad scheme of things. Like the Navajo Nation is the state, the clans are the counties. If all my clans were Tutchini, 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 the elders be like, oh, your parents screwed up because they got together when they shouldn't have.
So the elders are watching over everyone in the clans with this.
Well, through traditional means, every time you meet someone, you do introduce yourself. Nicholas Nelson, Yanisha, Tachini, Nisha, Toba, Bachchin, Torichini, Dashache, Kiani, Dashanella.
That's how you introduce yourself every time?
Not every time, no. I only do it for special occasions. Like the last time I did it was when I presented my film up in Hollywood.
Okay.
Because it was actually an exclusive Native event. So there's multiple tribes there from around the country.
Sure.
It was great to see other Native talent, but also everybody celebrated the fact that I was actually introducing myself through my clan system in my own language. And it was great because it's most time, again, I know for a fact someone's going to hear me say that and be like, that guy.
Modern Native?
He said it wrong. He sounds white, trying to sound Native, trying to be Native. So yeah, again, that's why I feel like my balance is more centered.
Gotcha.
Up here you have a sign that says Yate, which means greetings, hello.
So this is a big deal here, you're saying?
Yes, Starbucks is a big deal because reservation had never had one until now.
And it's the only one on all of Navajo Nation?
I believe so, but we can also ask them as well too, to verify. So this is the last major Navajo town to receive a Starbucks. They have it in Window Rock, Kayenta, Tuba City.
So Starbucks are all over Navajo Nation in the towns?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to fire you as a tour guide.
I know, right?
What happened
Seriously.
there? He said it was the only one. So pretty much standard supermarket, everything you'd see anywhere else.
You'll notice that they have an immaculate selection of spam.
Okay, is that a big thing here, spam?
The first time that Nick's dad asked me if we had any spam,
Yeah.
I started laughing, and then I felt incredibly rude because I realized he wasn't joking. Because when I grew up, spam was not something that people ate.
Yeah,
know?
it was something from our parents' generation.
Yeah. Like I didn't know anybody ate it.
I mean, there's all types. Jalapeno, turkey spam.
Yeah.
Bluebird is very big.
Make fry bread. To use the bluebird
Yep.
flour.
You have to use bluebird.
Yep. They pretty much give you ingredients for making the
You go vegetable oil, bluebird,
flour, water.
and then a smash burger. So like any world or community that you start tapping into, it gets more fragmented, more complex.
Yeah.
So when people are saying, oh, all reservations are food deserts, I'm like, that's what I thought. Some are, some aren't.
Yep.
Some depending on where you are.
Yes,
Right?
correct. Yes, that's absolutely correct.
Radioactive signs.
Yep.
What are you doing to me?
I am gonna convert you into a Navajo. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah?
Yeah, so
need
we're over
some,
here at this closed off old uranium mine that was shut down back in the early 90s. It was opened up during the atomic age. So a lot of this kind of went to research and development for atom bombs and all that stuff. And there's a lot of Navajos that actually worked in this mine, including my grandfather, or great-grandfather. And a lot of exposure happened, so families got settlement, but not that much. I haven't not seen a check, but I remember when I was young, I think it was only in the 5 digits of reimbursements for those who got cancer from working in this mine and living near it too.
A lot of cancer out here?
Yeah.
Is it pretty well capped off there?
Yeah.
Because there are people living over there, obviously.
Yeah, there's,
Sure hope so, since the wind's blowing this way.
yeah, I mean, you have to
You gonna
outline
have hair like me soon?
You'll see, like in Farmington, there's all of these billboards for treatment centers
Okay.
for uranium.
Yep, for uranium.
Oh,
Like you don't, it's not normal.
uranium treatment centers.
Yeah.
So it's almost a curse sometimes to have resources on your reservation, right?
Yeah.
It's a blessing and a curse.
Well,
The oil.
well, it's I wouldn't say a curse. It's ironic that our people were reservations are places reserved for a group of people, which the whole term reservation comes from.
Sure.
And with the reservation itself, we were thrown supposed to be on some of the harshest land and
Right.
the worst for people. We happened just to be set on top of land that was very resourceful to the rest of the country.
Okay.
Because of that, now we have a coal plant, 2 of them currently in this area that produce power for multiple states. And
Does the reservation make a lot of money from that?
they should, yes. No one's holding a gun to our face to do it. It's by choice, like any other risk we take in our trades. Like I'm a superintendent at construction. I've seen quite a few accidents and in construction in general for the past 20 years on it, but it's just part of what path you decide to choose. Do you want to be someone who mines work because you're in your economic situation in Shiprock 4 decades ago was very few and far between. So when a job opens up of you're going to mine uranium, any person with common sense will hop on it to get steady money in. My mom, when film industry started picking up early in New Mexico in the 2000s, she kept seeing all these casting calls for Native Americans on whatever to play someone on a horse or and all that stuff. And I grew up on Aliens, Red Dawn, Terminator.
Sure.
You know, I was like, I'm not gonna be one of those natives running around in a loincloth on a Hollywood screen. If anything, I want to be a native on camera with a gun. You know, so I was a designer for a development company at the time. A guy came in and said, hey, I'm helping this guy cast some characters.
Yeah.
We're looking for tribal officers or DEA agents. I'm like, all right, does this guy carry a gun? So yeah, sure, I'll do it, you know. And he said, yeah, it's for this new show called Breaking Bad. I was like, they're carrying a gun. Cool, yeah, I can do that. We're guys robbing chicken trucks.
Okay,
and then,
I remember that.
So then we gassed out a guy.
Yeah.
We gassed him out as we eat his lunch.
Yeah. How awesome was that?
That was fun. It's always fun. Breaking Bad was probably the best production I worked on. When we were filming in To'Hajiilee, when we were just hanging out, there's myself and a couple other natives on the side, and I saw an AD department guy walking by with a balloon, and all of us were looking at him. We're like, what's going on with that balloon? They're like, oh, we're gonna have a shot where this little girl's be running through the res with a balloon, and all of us chuckled. He's like, what? I say, no kids run through the res with a balloon. Why is that? It's like, it's gonna pop. It's not gonna, kids don't do that. Do you have a basketball, football, soccer ball or something? Yeah, well, grab that, deflate it, half of the weight, then have them running through the res, kicking that deflated ball. The guy looked at me, he's like, really? I said, yeah. And I said, ask them. And the other neighbors are like, oh yeah, that's
how you do it.
That's a res kid there. And when I started watching the show, I saw that little girl running through the desert, kicking that deflated ball. I was like,
you made it real, Nick.
Yeah, I really hope so.
Spagoshi. Sounds like a new type of spaghetti.
Yeah,
some Italian flair.
Yeah, a little with a sprinkle of Navajo and laced with some filmmaking.
Nice. Yeah. Filmmaking. Tell me, what is it?
So Spagoshi is a video production company. We've been keeping that going together as partners for the past 5 years now. Right? 6? 5? I don't know. Okay. But I started about 10 years ago. And we do filmmaking, video production, whiteboard animation. Now we're doing design, build, studio, lighting, grids as well too. And
marketing consulting.
Do we have a link I can put down below?
Spagoshi.com.
Spagoshi.com. Links down below, guys.
Great.
That was awesome. Thank you
for
bringing us in, Amber, Nick.
Yep.
That was very cool. All right, guys, thanks for coming along. Another look into Native culture, this time Navajo, Dene people. And I just want to mention, there are guys like Nick who, you know, have a successful job and have done so many things in their life, have lived off the reservation, more a modern type of Navajo person. And then there are sheep herders out in the desert who have never seen a Starbucks, heard of a Starbucks, use the internet, and are completely removed from modern society. So, you know, there's no one label you can put on Navajo Nation. It's massive size. I believe it's the size of West Virginia. And I really do want to get those stories, and I will in time, but they're, as you might imagine, much harder access. All right, guys, part of a larger Native series, starting up at the Flathead, Lakota, Crow, now Navajo. Got 1 or 2 more of these videos left. Thanks for coming along, and also join my mailing list. We'd love to have you there. More behind the scenes stuff and info about upcoming videos and events. So thanks for coming along. Until the next one.